Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Coast to Coast podcast. This is January 13th, and we are just coming off a tough loss to the Brooklyn Nets, where we showed some fight in the last 3 minutes, but to no avail. And we are coming off a 4-game losing streak, which is not what we wanted to see after our last episode. But in the house here, we've had a lot of chaos that happened today. With a lot of trade, with the blockbuster trade that happened with the Nets and the Rockets and a few other teams involved that sent James Harden to Brooklyn. And amidst all that, the Nets still managed to beat us. But before we talk about our beloved and dreaded Knicks, we have a very special guest on the pod here, Brother Den. So take it away.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the first 3 episodes. They were great, and was very excited to come out on today's show. But first, to get started with this trade, I mean, from I would say November, once Harden kicked off his demanding trade, this was eventually going to happen. The Sixers were right there. And what's shocking is, I mean, I guess let's go over the trade first. So it ended up being a 4-team deal, and the Brooklyn Nets have traded Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, and 3 first-round picks and 4 first-round pick swaps. They received James Harden. The Rockets then go and trade Karis LeVert to the Pacers for Oladipo, which I think is probably the steal of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get to that take in a second. Cavs then get Jared Allen, Taurean Prince for Exum and Karukos, and that Milwaukee pick, which is basically trading Jared Allen for a late first-round pick, is a steal in itself.
Did the Cavs end up with Jared Allen in the end?
Cavs got Jared Allen.
Yeah, that's what I was. He seems like a player that would just be on the Cavs, like someone with that talent just being wasted away on that team.
Don't they have Drummond, Kevin Love?
That team is huge.
Yeah.
That team is huge. It's a big team. It's a big team.
This is the Kevin Love farewell tour, right? I mean, we're not going to see much of him after this year.
No, I don't see him lasting much longer in Cleveland. He's been wanting to get out for the last 2.5 years. His contract's so big. It's hard to trade that contract.
Does he even play?
He's hurt. He's
always hurt. He's a very injury-prone player his whole career. How old is Kevin Love?
Kevin Love is 32.
There we go.
Kevin Love's 32.
He's right around Obi's age.
I think that's the irony is that's a so just I only went on the Cleveland part because that was just such a strange thing by Cleveland to do this again. Cleveland and Detroit love, they're taking a cue from the Knicks of last year, piling on these big men.
These forwards, it's strange, but he's the best young talent in that trade. I think he has the highest ceiling. I think the Nets are going to miss him the most. And what I'm most shocked about is that they got to keep Spencer Dinwiddie, even with his torn Achilles or ACL. It is. I'm shocked that they got to keep him, because even with his injury, he's young. He's a great finisher. And I would think the Rockets would push for that, especially, I mean, before the Oladipo trade, but looking more towards the future. I would think they would want Spencer Dinwiddie, but.
Well, I guess who would you rather?
It's very interesting.
Dinwiddie or LeVert? That's a fun question.
Well, I think LeVert, but I was thinking that Dinwiddie's more of the Kyrie plan B. If Kyrie doesn't work out this year, which it seems like he probably won't, then they have Dinwiddie, who's a point guard. LeVert's not a point guard.
Yeah, he's more of an off-ball, but he's can handle the rock when needed. During that bubble run, he pretty much took it over himself.
Right, because Harden's a point guard too, arguably.
Also, Harden's a point guard. He needs to not be.
I think Harden plays all 5 positions, right? Is like his skill set.
I think it's going to be quite interesting to see, because remember, Harden and Durant played with each other, but Harden wasn't Harden.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see that dynamic, especially you see right now. Even there's reports today, Kyrie and KD haven't spoken in weeks.
I didn't hear about that.
Give the full report, because this report was one of the best
And then
because
I
it
have
was
one last Kyrie funny one for those who missed another spotting. There were two Kyrie spottings as well. One at
And
the party with his family, but the other one was on a Zoom call in support for a DA who was getting ready to run. I think it was a campaign, fundraiser or whatever it was. You just see Kyrie in the little Zoom inset. So if Kyrie's in the NBA or running for office next year, we'll find out.
so before I get to that report, but does Kyrie just pull off a Kaepernick and just leave? Because it doesn't seem like he enjoys playing basketball. I mean, and in reality, this is the third team in the last 3+ years that he's trying to potentially get off of.
My take on that is he likes playing pickup basketball. And this is obviously a hot take. Like he loves the art of the game. He doesn't want to be like in the grind day in, day out. And obviously, I don't really know.
I think the season's too
mind.
long. Well, I think the season's too long. He's had he's part of a long tradition of players. Paul Pierce being one that comes to my mind immediately, who really thinks the season should just be 29 games. And it should be 2 months out of the year. They really grind. They have almost like a playoff atmosphere, and then that's it. It's over. And I actually could see that philosophy. I think I'm pro Kyrie in a lot of this. I think that the point he's making is that there are things that are going on right now that are more important than basketball, and by playing, we're almost not talking about them. And he has a platform, and he's trying to exercise that, but he's also just genuinely more interested in maybe political action or making a direct impact on his community, and that's what he's thinking about right now.
Wow. I do not agree.
Yeah, no. I mean, this guy he opted out of the bubble due to the social injustice. Fine. He felt like he should take a stand, and that's fine. Whether I think it was the wrong thing because this young Nets team in the playoffs trying to build for future championships, I think maybe wasn't the best decision on his part, but I get that part. To go and take personal days in the middle of this, not even the middle, in the beginning of the season, and then to go and party with your family without masks, with 30 people in a venue.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's not really a party if your family's there. Right?
Beyond that,
it was
one more thing.
More of a gathering for his dad's birthday, and I'm sure he's older. It just seemed like
things can definitely be misconstrued in that way. I agree.
He's not partying at the strip club, right? Or partying showing up overweight to the game, and just clearly just took a couple beers in the back.
Right. But in any job, if you just don't show up and don't text your boss why you're missing, that's not okay. In any work situation, it wasn't just that he took personal days. It was that he didn't communicate to his coach or his teammates why he was doing it. And, they're going to back him up and be, say nice words. But the other key part of all that is these things are probably important. We could talk about the 29 game. That's an interesting proposition. But these games, you actually need to be together as a team to develop that winning culture. I am a believer of that you can't just show up for the last 5 games versus teams who have been playing 82 games together through tough games to win. They know they'll trust each other a bit more. So I think that's hurting his teammates is the big thing in this. And for the 29 games, as long as they're willing to take a pay cut and the NBA is willing to not make that much money, sure.
I mean, 29 games, it feels like a little bit, but I would go towards I understand the 70 bumping 82 to 72, even going in the 58 range, I think is more and have that where you're not doing. I mean, it's huge right now. The last 3 years, we're seeing all these all-stars rest, and these off days for players. So to expand that season into 58 games and give more off days, while you'll get more out of your players, you'll also not have Kawhi Leonard sit 30% of your games, on national TV, which the NBA put a rule out this year is they can't. You're not allowed to sit on nationally televised games for rest.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why Durant played tonight?
Oh.
Well, Durant's a different story because he's coming off an injury.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the rules are or what the rules change are, but I agree. I mean, LeBron's been making this argument for a while about the longevity of a player and how his stats match up to everyone who's ever played because he's been giving it his all for 82 games for 19 seasons or however many seasons. And there's truth to that. He has been doing that consistently And to do that is a feat in itself. And that's why when people talk about, maybe Kawhi is the best player in the league, it's like Kawhi hasn't been doing this for as long as LeBron does consistently. But yeah, go on, Daniel. Give us that take.
So, which is an interesting report from Tommy D, reporter from SNY. He wrote, I'm told Kyrie Irving has been furious at the organization for some time now, and that he was not given input on the head coach hiring. He was not in favor of Steve Nash. Also, his relationship with Kevin Durant has been described as very distant as of recent.
Very interesting.
I love the Nash thing. It's so funny.
I would be shocked if that's true.
I would too. But again, this is KD's team. And with Kyrie Irving sitting out the playoffs, I think that solidified it even more.
Okay, so I spoke about this earlier, about how these three players are all ISO players. Harden, obviously Kyrie, and KD I think is a little more flexible. Like, he doesn't need to have the ball in his hand. He's made that very clear tonight. I think he's made it clear in the playoffs with Golden State. Like, whenever you give him the ball, he will make – he can move the ball easily. If you give him the ball, he doesn't need to have it for like 10 minutes. Even when you give it back to him, he's just as fresh as when he left off. He turns it on whenever he wants to. He plays at will. But do you think the other two guys are a horrific match? I mean, these are all three arguably drama queens, but also isolation players.
What I do think is, and we saw it in Cleveland with Kyrie, is he's more willing to be off the ball than maybe Harden is when we saw it with Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook.
Yes.
Now, his personality won't allow that. As you saw, he made his way out of Cleveland because of that. But when it comes to it, and someone had a great take today, that Kyrie won a championship too early, that the drive is not there, that he won and that's it, and it's possible.
And it probably went to his ego as well.
Yeah,
the drive, the ego, the whole.
And he got 3 big contracts already. He's on his 3rd big contract.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting situation. I do think Harden and KD can complement each other very, very well. I think getting James Harden could lock down KD in Brooklyn to end his career. I think those are two guys. I think those are 2 guys that will be Nets for the long haul. Now, Kyrie,
you could trade 7 first-round picks. You have to be banking on that, right?
I want to get to that also, because as a Knicks fan, I would do that any second of the day for a chance to win 1 or even 2 championships.
But you wouldn't do that without. Would you do that for James Harden without KD? Like with the current roster?
I would take Fat Harden over anyone on this team right now.
Not for 7 first-round picks. Not for the team that we have, because it's not enough to win a championship.
I mean, if you throw him around Mitchell Robinson, Mitch could be very good.
Let me give you a team. Mitch. Let's do Nick Fantasy for a sec. So how about we still have Randall, Mitch, Harden, and Bullock.
Quickly.
Yeah, and quickly. But quickly. But we don't have
trade RJ, Knox.
Yeah, we don't have RJ,
Drake,
Burks, and Rivers. No, we get rid of
Obi, maybe, I guess.
It's not a winning team.
No, I don't see that. I mean, they're the Rockets of Jace.
The Rockets are even better. Maybe, because Randall's been playing well, but
I think defensively the Rockets are much better.
Fair. Well, I like Mitchell's play. All right, so let's for the Nets trade, I wanted to ask both of you a question on, obviously 3 Supremes talents. Is the sum going to be? It doesn't even have to be greater than their parts. It just doesn't have to be that much worse than their parts, and they'll be at the championship caliber level. But there's some obvious holes that come in with this team. One is depth, but the other one that I'm most concerned in, which you alluded to earlier with the Jared Allen trade. I mean, Allen's been playing really well on defense this year. And so what are they going to do for the boards? I mean, DeAndre Jordan, we saw him on the Knicks for a little bit. Even on the Knicks, he's a good passer, but like on defense, he was a little slow. And
he's not the same player he was to start his career on the defensive side. And I don't want to use tonight as an example, because he made Mitch look like a child tonight.
He did.
But that's not what you see from DeAndre game in and game out. Where I've spoken to net fans and they're like I said, Jared Allen is going to be the biggest loss in this trade, because you're now going from Jared Allen as your starting center to DeAndre Jordan.
It's a big drop.
Now DeAndre Jordan is going to have to play 28, 29, 30 into 30 minutes. down the line. I don't see, and that's where it gets interesting with the defense, because it's like, okay, the Nets are a great offensive team before the trade.
Right.
Their defense was everything that was lackluster. And now you go in and get, if not the best, if not the second best offensive player in the league right now in James Harden. What do you do on the defensive side? So is it like you got to outscore us and it's going to be 135, 120 games?
I think they'll play small as well, but also the other team will be forced to play a bit smaller because I don't think Jokic is taking Durant, or whoever is like the center. Like Mitchell Robinson can't take Durant, so you could also force their hand.
Yeah, I mean, we had Julius Randle and Durant today, and it wasn't.
I don't think no one can take Durant. Is what I learned tonight.
That's also true. AD would be fun,
and that's where I want to go to. Is eventually the finals. That's where they're going to be, who they're probably going to be playing. And I think we can all agree that when we have the NBA finals, it likely will be the Lakers against the Nets as favorited right now. I mean, the Sixers are playing amazing basketball, but
they do have to get their shit together. Let's be real. Like, Kyrie needs to get back on the court, and they need to see if they could all play together, which I think they will be able to. I don't think the ISO ball is going to be such a problem. I think they will figure it out.
I think they will.
I actually think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think they could beat the Lakers. I think like they're pretty well matched against them. I think I would put Durant as like a favorite on any team. I'm amazed by how well he's playing. He I think is a lot of MVP potential. You know, he was a good bet early on before the season started, and it seemed clear that like, you know, he was a sneaker pick. I mean, I don't see who could beat them. They do score at will, and they made it look easy tonight while half their squad was on the flight to different cities.
So I wanna actually put our money where our mouth is for a second, and we're gonna do now that this whole trade thing happened. I want everyone to say their winner of the picks, their winner of the trade, or it could even be a dark horse, you know, just something unique. And then predictions for the NBA Finals with this shakeup, and then we could talk about the team that Durant managed to beat with these backup players, not only because Durant is so fine and flashy and smooth and all the proper words you can use to describe him, but also because we have a team that is very injured, is one way to say.
Right, that's what Thibs relies. He's like, oh yeah, you know, we're very banged up. It's like, no, we're not. This is like he's been playing the whole year. What do you mean?
This has been our team. But okay, so what was your, you know, what were you most happy with or surprised that someone had maybe like a good trade in this? It could have just been, you know, Brooklyn shooting up. And what do you think your final predictions are as well? This hot early.
I thought the Oladipo, I know you guys said it was a steal, but I actually find it to be very interesting. I mean, Oladipo's a free agent at the end of the year, so they're going to have to really woo him to stay. And I think that's a huge risk to take on. And then also on top of that, I mean, I don't necessarily see how LeVert is worse than Oladipo. I mean, Oladipo is a great player and he's playing really well, but LeVert is arguably, I mean, he dropped 50 points the other night. I think it's good for him that he's going to be on a team where he could really exercise his talents and not really be overshadowed.
I agree very much on that point. And then, so what was the finals? What would your finals takes be? Prediction be?
Oh, I mean, I have Lakers Nets. I think as the entire world does. I do, like I said, I think the Nets will get their shit together. I think the Lakers are unbeatable. I think the Nets will make it interesting, but, you know, I think actually the Nets will win.
There we go.
It took the Celtics 2 years to do it, right? But I think
it took the Heat also 2 years. Miami, the big three.
Right. I think if they stay healthy and all three of them are on the court and available, and Harden gets in better shape, I think they got this in the bag.
All right, brother Dan, on to you.
I want to go back to the Oladipo thing, because what I think for the Oladipo part of the trade is the Rockets get to see Oladipo for the next 2 months. The trade deadline is March. I believe it's like March 15th or something. Mm-hmm. He's eligible to be traded March 4th again. They're getting a good 2 months look at Oladipo, seeing whether it's a culture fit. Will he come? Will he stay? I'm sure they'll have conversations with him. He is a free agent. He's an expiring contract that can help a playoff team.
I see.
Are the Rockets on a playoff team?
That's the other question.
Well, that's the other question, is where the Rockets host Harden. I do think the morale, and you can see from John Wall's comments last night and Boogie's comments this morning, the morale is going to be very different. Mm-hmm. So that in itself can make the team push and play better. But it's more of a, if they are there, will they keep him and move forward? And if not, will they trade him for more picks? Because remember, they did trade 4 picks for Russell Westbrook.
So they're just like making
And
it
got
back up.
one back. So right now they made it back up. They have 4 additional picks. They're swaps. I'm actually shocked after looking at the dates of the years of the pick, and I'm going to pull them up again because they were quite interesting. I thought they would be much later. But it's the first round picks unprotected are 2022, 2024, and 2026. I believe Durant's deal expires in 2023, 2024. So I guess the 2026 4-year deal, right?
Yeah, 4 years. And after next year, he has the option to opt out.
Which he will and resign.
Right. If he wants to stay in Brooklyn. It could all implode.
This Harden thing, I think. It can. In a COVID year, there's not many practices.
I know. It's really going to be difficult for any team to gel at this point.
They can't shoot around. There's no shoot around.
Especially if Kyrie's not going to practice.
Right.
They can't even
I'm sure Harden misses his fair share of practices too, right?
My quick prediction was because it's different, is I think year 2 of the Clippers are going to get their shit together this year, and they'll be beating the Nets in the finals. That was my difference. I think I still have a glimmer of hope. As much as the Lakers, as dominant as they are, I'm putting my chips into a Kawhi year one more time, a historic.
Well, if the Clippers don't win, then like we may get Kawhi next year.
There we go.
But
it's up to Paul George.
No, I agree. Well, one last thing I was going to say about this trade was, and because we haven't really touched upon it, but it really was amazing to see once again an NBA player just force himself out of a situation he didn't want to be in, with no disregard for anybody else on the team. I mean, he said, like, I gave this city my all. I did all I can. He said the right things, but he showed up to that game, like, clearly not in shape.
He looks more like someone who's on the couch, like, thinking of storming the Capitol, but too lazy, rather than, like, someone who's ready to play a professional basketball game.
And to come back to, like, just the financials, by the way, of that trade, Bobby Marks, former GM of the Nets, actually, who made the famous Paul Pierce trade.
The infamous Paul Pierce trade.
The infamous. James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving total up to $114.8 million of payroll. He compared it to 5 teams, total payroll. The lowest payroll, the New York Knicks, $92 million. Total team payroll. Oklahoma City Thunder, 95.6. Charlotte Hornets, $105 million.
Oh, so these
Sacramento
three guys.
Kings, $107.8 million, and the Atlanta Hawks, $114.7 million.
3 guys are making more than 5 teams of all their.
And Dolan's saving his money, I guess.
Well, how much revenue are they going to bring in?
He's getting lighting for his live shows. He just invested in like a new 3D reality set. To
be honest, I mean, the Nets picked a bad year to go all in because it's COVID year, so they can't even bring in fans.
They don't get fans anyway.
This is our off year for, it's a good year to have our off year.
They don't get fans anyway. I agree with that point. The Nets will take the city.
I mean, I think
no matter how many times they win.
Brooklyn they're used to playing in an empty gym.
So it's going to be just as normal for them this year.
I mean, it's like the Los Angeles Rams or like the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, they don't have fans.
Okay, actually, one last question on this trade, and then we should move on to the other NBA news. What will the Nets in the next 2 years get more fans than Knicks? / rephrasing the question, how many bandwagoners are going to hop on board with them?
Oh, a ton.
If they make the finals. If they make the finals, right? Like,
myself included.
Well,
this has now become a Brooklyn Nets podcast.
I think what all you need to do is add me, who's someone who hates the Nets. But
I like that.
No, I think with the player empowerment era that we've been seeing the last, I would say, 10 years since the decision, really, is you're seeing more player fans. So while us do not like James Harden, many people do. Many people love Kevin Durant.
Right.
So there are player fans where they'll gravitate because, like we said, like people are on teams 1, 2, 3 years. There's no real connection to the franchise like we have it or we have it in other sports.
Mhm.
The NBA has grown tremendously over the last 15 years, focusing on really players
Yeah. I
versus
mean,
teams.
you got the Yao Ming James Harden fans from Houston, like China going to Houston. Now they're going to be a Brooklyn Nets fan, actually. So that should be fun to see, too.
Yeah, I mean, I also think of it
It's
this way, you know, like when the Nets are winning 10 games in a row in April and they're on like a 10, 12 game winning streak, you're going to be like, oh, you know, the Knicks have lost like 6 out of the last 9, gotten blown out by 30 in the last 3 games, are you know, reloading tankathon to see what pick they get.
I've been doing that since
Why
game
not
one.
watch the Nets? Why not see like some good basketball? Like, oh, will Durant hit 50 again tonight for the second time in a row? Oh, will Kyrie get another triple-double? Oh, like how many minutes? Will James Harden get a complete game? I mean, the Nets are going
No,
to be fun
Thibs
to
is not his coach.
Let's. I think his usage is going to be high. I actually think that Steve Nash needs to go. I think he's not the
Wow.
right fit.
Hot take.
Again, we're 12
take,
games
13
into the
games
season
into the
because
season.
Kyrie says he doesn't like Nash. The guy ditches his team for 4 games, and you're saying now Nash has to go.
If Kyrie doesn't like Nash, there must be something wrong.
The earth
No,
must be
Kyrie on
flat
this
for you,
one.
man. The
No,
earth is
the earth
flat.
must be flat.
He said he was
Oh,
kidding
God.
about
What
that.
is what has Nash done that's wrong if this is a genuine take?
I just don't think he has the leadership qualities to get these guys
The dude has been
focused
leading
and
his teams to
organized.
the Western Conference Finals multiple years.
As a
As
player.
I
So,
get
but
his.
what-
I get his take. But remember who he hired?
D'Antoni.
D'Antoni. Besides
Right,
Amare.
D'Antoni's going to be
D'Antoni.
the coach, right? That's true. I forget. D'Antoni's going to
so-
slide into the head coach role. Another
Well, that's why I
reason to
think-
watch the Nets.
Yeah.
I don't like
That's why I
Harden's
think-
style of play, so that's the
No, me
one
either.
reason why I will say that I probably won't become a Nets fan. If he can learn to actually move when he passes the ball, if he knows how to just not stand in one spot, maybe I'll start watching.
Dude, he averages like 9 assists a game.
That's from him with the ball. I'm saying, can he move without the ball so he could allow the other players to get into their own flow? When someone's
And I hate
posting up,
his bullshit fouls. I can't
oh
stand
yeah, also
Harden.
that.
His style of play just doesn't like. I like how the Spurs play. You know, that little grit, but that ball movement on offense. I know we all hated when the Warriors were dominating the league, but that was the most fun basketball you'll see. Ball movement,
Really was.
off-ball picks, popping shots, open shots. Most of the team was shooting open shots.
It was a perpetual motion machine, that team.
So the reason why I'm not that fan of Harden is because he just stops the ball. It's like it's how frustrated we Knicks fans are, and my beloved Carmelo Anthony. We hated it, but it's the same thing. Harden's just more efficient.
Right.
I mean, Randall's doing the same thing that Melo used to do. And I liked it when Melo was doing it, but like at a certain point when
That's not
Randall,
true,
I think
though.
Breen spoke about it. He was like, "Oh, it didn't look like he was going to pass that ball, did it? Like there was not really enough." He looked determined to like shoot that and miss it.
But
You know, like there was no RJ was actually open on a cut. He didn't even think to look that way. It's concerning. I mean, he's the only player that could score, but again, I think that he still bogs down the offense. I think it's hard for other players to get into rhythm if he's going to control the ball like that.
Just before we start talk about the game, the Knicks just tweeted a video of Manuel Quickly taking up shots on the MSG floor for about 25 seconds after hours.
We know what that means, Knicks fans. Next game is his breakout performance.
So
he broke out tonight.
Listen,
He shot. He was great tonight. He just didn't get enough minutes.
Well,
I think
was
his
just
minutes.
saying that there's a history for Knicks players who get up shots and then having to bounce back a good game the next game after. So, but yeah,
I mean, he
right.
put up
He
great
did have a good
numbers. I think his 3 is now fallen finally. I think with more minutes, he'll get used to that floater. I think that's a key part of his game he needs to work on. Remember, he was off ball all of his college career at Kentucky. So now that he's being asked to be primarily a on-ball guard, I'm shocked how well he's adjusted to it. When we drafted him, I was excited as a 3-and-D guy, having played the 2. I was hoping we would draft a point guard. I still think we should draft a point guard. I still see Emmanuel Quickly as more of an off-ball guard. But I'm surprised at how well he's handling being on the ball.
I mean, I disagree. I think he should be playing more minutes at the point guard position. And Rivers came in and he was playing point, and then there was a time where Peyton was in with Quickly, and I think maybe he was just testing that lineup late in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
But I want to see Quickly be the orchestrator, be the conductor on the court. I think the players around him have the most potential to succeed when he's playing with the rock in his hand. Even when he's playing the two, even when he's shooting guard, I see him yelling at Knox and RJ to cut around the ball. He's like, cut, come on. And that's just in his nature. So even in Kentucky, if he was playing on the two, I'm sure that he was still doing that. I think the reason why he's such a steal is because players didn't actually think that he could play point guard because they never saw it. But we know he could play point guard. So that's why he's an asset.
How do we know that?
Point guard, because we saw those two preseason games and we saw that fourth quarter.
I'm still not convinced, but I'm not on the Brother Dan take of just getting, immediately saying right now to draft a point guard. Like, we still have a long way to go to see what Quickly should do at point guard. And I completely agree that, the minutes need to be there for us to get a true assessment. I mean, the other problem is we don't really have that many guards, point guards or shooting guards. Rivers seem to play both. Like you said, Peyton and Quickly, when they were on the court, they were both playing both. They were switching off here and there. I will say what I really like Quickly's, we've seen the maturity. I do like you're saying his IQ is really up there. The floaters is the one thing that it's like he's got a pretty one, but he takes too many of them a little short. Outside his range, where he should probably be pulling up. And he hasn't yet fully gotten the bring the other player to commit to him, make that pass yet. When he goes off the picks, he's still finding.
I think he wants it though. I think he wants the player to cut with him, and they're not cutting. So he's forced to go.
No, he's not bringing the other. He needs to bring after he does the roll. That defender, he needs to bring him up to his floater a bit more. He's settling for the floaters.
Kick him out to the corner,
or kick it out to the corner as well.
He missed his first free throw shot.
That's why he's shooting that floater,
which I was so sad to see because I thought he was gonna not miss for the rest of the year. There's a certain point where it's like, I can't even imagine what it would look like to see him miss.
What is it? He doesn't get dinner now tonight? Maybe that's why he's shooting after.
That's why he's at the gym. I mean, his work ethic, right? I mean, where's Obi Toppin? Where's Kevin Knox? These are young players that should also be shooting around at the end of the game. RJ Barrett. I mean, he started off the game 0 for 5 once again. This is now the fourth game in a row where he's starting off slow, and you can tell it gets to him. Yeah, he picked it up at the end of the game, but there were moments where he was just absent.
I see it differently, and I like what Mike Green said tonight, whereas you can look at RJ Barrett and you wouldn't know if he's shooting 10 for 10 or 0 for 10. I think what he needs to do is literally take a book from Durant. And while we see Durant is one of the best three-point shooters in the league, he lives in the mid-range. And the minute you saw RJ shooting right there, right in front of the three-point line, in that mid-range, that's when he started getting hot tonight in the third quarter.
Yeah.
I think he needs more of that. I think he needs to, analytics tells you to shoot threes more than shoot mid-range shots, but we hired Tom Thibodeau. Analytics is out of the window right now.
Right.
Like he's in college, his mid-range was one of the best in the league. So we need to see that continuing.
Is that true? Because he shot very poor. He shot
his mid-range.
I thought. Is that
his mid-range in college was really good. Off the dribble, he's good. His free throws suck, and his 3-point percentage suck.
The NBA is not the place to learn how to shoot, folks.
Yep, that was a very sad moment when Clyde was saying that, which actually brings up an earlier part of our podcast in previous episodes. We asked that question: what attributes can be learned in the NBA? What are the easiest ones to learn? Which ones are really exceedingly rare? I mean, when Clyde brought it up, Breen tried to bring up Jason Kidd and Nowitzki, but I thought that was a little cheating because he said Nowitzki was 20% three his first year. But what was his mid-range percent? I think it's all around outside shooting that Barrett is pretty good at, but even in his mid-range, like he could be inconsistent. And I think part of that is all with the 3-point and the confidence. And I really do agree that try to get your rhythm going off. Like if you're not feeling the three, get your rhythm. And it matters so much. Like as someone who like plays pickup, like I'm not a basketball player, but like I know how much calibrating and taking easy shots to get you back into the groove
Get you in the
matters.
zone. I mean,
Yeah.
you saw in the first time out, and ESPN had Thibs mic'd. He goes, shoot the ball. There was a lot of hesitation, whether it was from Rivers in the first quarter. RJ Barrett, even when he put up shots, it looked like he was hesitating when he was putting up those threes. I really do want Elfrid Payton to hesitate, but even he was hesitating at certain times.
Yeah.
But
he still
the
shoots
hesitation and the lack of confidence in their shot is going to be the downfall.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, their lack of shooting percentage also, but yes,
Yeah.
but that's
There are
another.
lack of people who could actually score and get points, and that's why those guys like JR always fit this team, because there are guys that just like will shoot 30 times a game and will score. You know, some of them at some point, you know, will shoot like 40% or 39%, and that's like how you get points sometimes. You know, this is the team where they don't really have that player. If that player is RJ just shooting threes, and we're in trouble. Because we need to have someone who's able to score, and it needs to not just be Julius Randle. I mean, there was a point in the game, I think it was in the third quarter, where he was the only one. He had, I think, like 24 points at the time, and there was not a single player that had over 9.
Then RJ scored 12 in the third.
RJ Barrett's college stats.
And it was before he picked up, though.
RJ Barrett's college stats in the 2-point field goal range, he shot 53%.
That counts layups?
Does count layups.
Okay. Still great.
Three pointers, 30%. I mean, he
just needs to not shoot it.
Not shoot threes, yeah.
Not shoot threes at all.
It's tough because you need to have that gravity.
Well, because he's open. Because they're giving it to him because they don't respect it.
Right. Should he be in that position is the question.
Well, we saw the
should he even be in the
whole first quarter.
Position? Yeah.
We saw the whole first quarter. The Nets were dropping back, and that's why you saw Julius Randle really have those open threes.
Well,
once he started hitting, you saw Durant now more step up and be more like create better angles.
Well, that brings up a common theme that we're probably going to see throughout the year of teams playing zone defense. Also, is another slightly tangent to that, but just the idea of us teams playing whatever defense they want, or playing the defense that makes their life so much easier if we can't shoot outside. And
I mean, versus the Hornets.
That game was so difficult to watch.
Yeah, could you speak on more about that? Because I remember you specifically. I thought so too. I mean, as soon as you texted me that, I was like, "Yep, that's exactly it." But and please elaborate further on it. But it's as soon as teams are playing zone on us, we don't know what to do. We get
hesitant too. And that's a big hesitation.
Extremely hesitant.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And the only way to beat the zone is that catch and shoot. So you can't hesitate when you get the ball and you're open. And I know Austin Rivers had an atrocious game tonight, but he's one of our best 3-point shooters on the team.
He hesitates a decent amount. He's got to let it fly. He's got to
let it fly.
Even in the 14-point outburst game, he waited to the last moment to finally force his shots. A lot of those plays. It was great, but you're our best shooter, sadly.
Well, I don't know about that. I actually think Knox is a better shooter. And once Burks comes back, Burks will be a better shooter. I think Rivers was never really a consistent 3-point shooter in his career. So the fact that he started off that way for us was exciting, but I actually didn't think it was ever going to last. So I think that
someone who jumps on the rolling train. Sorry.
He actually in 2K he has the 3 under his name. So I beg to differ.
Wait. Let's pick up his stats. I mean, I looked into this because when he was hitting his threes, I was so surprised.
I mean, if we're looking at stats, don't bring up
here.
Knox.
Time out. Well, here we go.
We're bringing up Knox.
No, there's Austin Rivers. Well, Knox.
His 3-point shooting is not good.
But this season is probably very good.
I don't think it's
his 3-point percentage in his career is 35. I'm not saying it's great.
That's average.
But
it's above average.
It's above average.
Yeah.
But before you say 35, also say that last year was 35. The year before that was 32. And the year before that was 31.
Yeah. He's definitely gotten better.
I think, are you trying to say that he's gotten better or worse?
I'm saying that he's gotten worse. There was
he was 35 last year.
Specifically 2 years on the Clippers that he was a so-called defensive specialist. But after that, he never continued that same
3 and D.
I don't think he's a D guy, and I think that was the reason why he didn't make the roster in Houston in the bubble, because he wasn't hitting those threes. He may have had some injury problems as well, but in general, he wasn't their 3-point specialist that they were willing to rely on in the playoffs. And he shouldn't be ours. I think Knox has been doing that consistently, at least this year. And it seems like, when the ball falls out of Knox's hands, it looks like it's going in.
Yeah, there's a big difference between all of us watching and liking watching his stroke and him actually being able to shoot his bat. Well, Brother Dan doesn't like it, but I like it when he starts hitting. Like, Knox is the guy, I just want him to start hitting threes so I could actually watch him shoot.
If he can,
I agree.
Listen,
the high arc, the little.
I never liked the high arc.
It's like he doesn't have a.
He stays in the air for like a half hour.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't get back on defense because he's still in the air. It's like, no, you missed already.
Yes, I saw that this game.
So to be honest with you, Knox came out his rookie year. He shot 34% from three. Last year, obviously, we all know that it was just beyond the awful year for him for the Knicks.
Yeah.
He shot 32%, and this year he's shooting 40.
If he could stay at 40, that's ideal. I want him at 40.
You want him at 40, but then if he's at 40, keep him on the court. Give him more minutes.
I'm apologizing.
Oh, that you thought it was worse, yeah.
I said Kevin, beginning of the year, I said Kevin Knox is just not an NBA player.
Well, honestly, if you looked at all the advanced stats, they honestly indicated that. He was like the worst in the league his first year. And I think his second year.
In the history of the league.
Wasn't it that? Yeah. It was like the history of.
Yeah. He was the worst player in the history
stat.
of the league.
We have to find out what stat it was. But
I think it was
real
like
plus minus, maybe?
It was just like his ability to like make the team win was like he was the worst player to have on your team by
it may have been WAR, wins above replacement or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But his win shares is 0.1. This year it's -1 in his career.
Right, but yet honestly, he has played well.
His PER is 8.6 in his career. The average in the NBA is 15.
Right. So he's in the bottom 25 percentile probably or something.
Basically.
Probably bottom 5 percentile, it sounds like.
Right, depends on the variance. I don't actually know.
But in general, like he does look like he's doing some improvement this year, and this is his big year, right? This is the third year in the league. Could you actually compete? And it seems like he may have found his niche, which is come off the bench and hit some threes. But I don't think he's getting enough minutes to really, like, we're able to really see his game. He did have this amazing, I don't know if you guys saw that tonight, but he had like a step back and shoot like a mid-range jumper.
He's playing 22 minutes a game. I think that's where he needs to be for his career.
I want him at 25, 26. This is the year, and actually this is my ding, ding, ding of question time. Because, this is the year that we said, oh, great, we didn't waste all our money on Fred VanVleet, which, some people may think it was a good idea. Or, like, we didn't we didn't mortgage our future this year. We got a good coach. Let's get these people up and running. Let's see who of the young guys can stick, who can't. And we're 12, 13 games in. We've had injuries. We've had good wins. But we're also at the point where we're facing reality of what this team is. A team that can't really score and like still has struggling to mesh. But on defense, I've been pretty happy with generally. But this glaring issue of these young players still not getting enough minutes, I think. And so my question is, what do you guys think about Thibodeau's minutes distribution? And how much slack do we give him given the injuries as well? And sometimes our younger guys, not just not looking good or fresh that night. Like Knox has played well, but has had a lot of games where, he shouldn't be in or Barrett as well.
So let's talk about inactive players first. Alec Burks, who is probably their sixth man.
Yep.
Or if not a starter. Reggie Bullock, same idea. He's going to always play. Frank Ntilikina is the one. And Frank Ntilikina is the one who I would say is probably the odd man out. Which is if we can have a whole frank conversation, but
because I think it's at the point with the minutes where he should be getting a share at this point.
This is his fourth year in the league. He's a free agent. Are we going to sign him or not? Are we not going to even see what we have in him? We might as well, right? If we're not going to win games, we might as well see what we have. But
he's a Tibbs guy.
I think that
Tibbs guys are scoring point guards is the only Derrick Rose. So it's kind of weird.
The three. Put him at the 3 then.
Right. Put him in the game because I think he affects the game in a way that matters. But if he's willing to be aggressive on offense,
I want to use him on offense how similar to how Thibs used Joakim Noah, where Joakim Noah would be on the top of the paint distributing,
Mhm. Well, that's what
and
Mitch
that's where I
should be.
see.
Yeah.
I don't
There's
think
so
Mitch
much
is
we can get
also
out of
out of the
Mitch.
offense.
We need
Mitch
to
doesn't
squeeze
pass,
Mitch
you're right.
dry.
You don't think
He
he's
doesn't
got
have
it?
just passing.
You don't think he's got it? We haven't even seen him
Not
attempt to
yet.
pass.
How many
Besides a
minutes can we
handoff.
give him? Can we give him 40 minutes a game, or would he just get tired?
Well, Thibodeau gives him. He's been
Mitch?
trying to give him when Noel doesn't play, at least, I guess.
I want
Well,
to see
Mitch
more of
played
Mitch.
33 tonight.
Yeah,
He
he's
seems to
playing.
be
No.
the most impactful player, but he's been getting some minutes, some games with 28 minutes, and I mean, in general,
Foul
I think
trouble.
that he
Yeah.
is maybe, but he seems to be like our most valuable asset at the moment in terms of like
I agree.
we're getting returns on him consistently. He hasn't had any game that made you question his game. There's not a moment where I'm like, oh, is he going to be a good NBA player? It's like, no, he's a good NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
So keep him on the floor. I mean, try to involve him more on the offense, because I mean, dude, he had that last tip in at the end of the game. He like got the offensive rebound and just like threw it in. It's like this guy's still hustling. There's 30 seconds left and he's still hustling.
So kind of skewed by the final numbers because of the last 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We were out rebounded by 3. We didn't allow that many offensive rebounds. We allowed 12. But I think the rebound differential at a certain point was like 9. And when you have a guy like Julius Randle, who on the offensive side plays more of on the outside versus in the paint, I need Mitch to have more than 12 rebounds. Because you have Mitch with 12, Julius Randle with 7. And I'm nitpicking because 12 rebound, 10 and 12, I would take it from a second-round pick any day of the week. But
you want this guy to be
rebounding
Jokic, who's getting 18 a game. You know, like I agree. Like you want him to get like an absurd amount of rebounds a game because he should be. He has the size to. He has the ability to. He's athletic enough. There are some moments in the game where I do feel like he's not just like in sync with how the game is going. He's not like in tune with the flow of it to know where the ball's gonna go, to know what's happening. He like misses something because he's like, oh shit, the ball's here now. Like just by like a second, he's just like a little bit late on some plays, and I think that really affects his rebounding, or at least his rebounding stats. I think he has the ability to do it, but we're not seeing it yet, and that's why I think like Thibs needs to push him more. That's his specialty. Like make him know.
I mean,
I want to touch just on those 2 quick things. One thing on that point that you said, I like that, where it seems like he still has some IQ to pick up and feel for the game. He took off a whole year to not even play college ball just to work out on his own. So, I mean, he's got a lot to learn just about the game. That it does become a little like it shows a little bit, but I do want to just add more for the stats part and what we're missing as well, where yes, he can hide away sometimes or just not know where to be in the right position. But I was watching today and like there was one play, the ball went up after, another terrible Knicks possession where they couldn't really move the ball and we're all scared to shoot the 3. And finally someone took a last second heave. And there's 3 Nets guys under the basket against Mitch Robinson because they don't have to go out to defend the 3. They're not closing out on anyone. If no one has to go out to space out, then everyone else is ready for the rebound.
That's exactly what the problem is.
It's
not showing up on the stat sheet.
Yes, there's plenty of things that don't show up on the stat sheet that affect what we expect from our players, 100%. And Mitchell getting more rebounds is one part due to our ineffective shooting.
And even with that, he had 8 offensive rebounds.
That's incredible.
He had 4 defensive rebounds. 4 defensive rebounds.
That's an interesting.
That's where my problem is.
Yeah, so that's
he's not getting them on the defensive end. And it could be because he's covering for Randall a lot. And it seems to be
there's also a lot of pick and rolls that affect.
Yeah. It's they're taking advantage again though of our front court, which is affecting our back court.
Yeah.
And I think that's like it's a trickle down effect. I mean, if we're not going to play good ball at the perimeter, if we're not going to know what the point guard's up to when he's trying to mosey into the paint, because this is like my biggest problem with the game, or this specific one, but I would say the last couple as well, is that we're putting so much energy as a team, as a unit, just to score 2 points.
Yeah.
Well, the other teams are scoring
not even 3.
Not even 3, just 2. We're like wasting all of our breaths, and then it's just like the other team just scores like before you even blink an eye, before you're celebrating even the last shot.
Mike Green made a great comment on the Knicks. It was, I think, Austin Rivers heaved like a last second. It was just so hard for them to move the ball. Then you have Durant takes it out on a rebound, pops it up. I think there was like maybe 20 seconds left on the shot clock. Like it just was way too easy for them to get a basket versus the Knicks were struggling, had to use all 24 seconds to then throw up a 60-footer,
like a low percentage shot, right?
I remember that.
And to go back to Mitch's numbers, I mean, for his career, he's averaging a total of 6.8 rebounds a game.
Well, I mean,
now,
it's our factor. The per 36 will up that a lot.
That's true. Yeah, you can't really do that career stat. I think you could, though, look at, how many minutes. He's obviously playing the most minutes of his career right now in 2021.
30.
Okay, that's 30,
averaging
sure.
30 minutes a game. And
how many rebounds is he averaging? Right, so
8.
8 is arguably not enough.
Julius Randle is averaging 11.
It's not
but
enough
that's
for your
good.
center.
As long as they're both
That's
rebounding.
amazing.
No, but it's like all these centers on these other teams, these all-star centers, which is what our aspirations are for Mitch. I mean, Jared Allen averages 10.4. We expect Mitch to be at this point in his career because of his level of play to still be averaging at least 10 rebounds a game. He's getting the minutes.
I will say one thing, another, indirect thing is he's leaving. He doesn't do it as much. He's obviously improving, but sometimes he's going after shots that he is not going to block. And it's pretty obvious he's not going, and he's giving up rebounds to the other players because of that. Whereas he should be. It's tough because he's so talented at blocking shots that aren't going to be blocked. So I understand there's a fine line for him to figure that out. But that's another part of him lacking of rebounds occasionally.
And it leads to a ton of offensive rebounds.
Exactly, which has that I've noticed
because
that
you have
a problem.
Because you have now your traditional centers on most teams where you have either a Jokic or a Jared Allen under the paint boxing out Alfred Payton.
Right. And we know Payton is not trying on those.
So it's interesting.
Well, I want to say
his career.
Yeah, I do want to say.
Let's not rip Mitch. He's our best player.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I would say overall there was during this 4-game losing streak. I'm just gonna do my own highlight of a bright spot was, I think when we're not, whether it's the beginning of the game or maybe after a little run or something, like when our shots are not failing to fall, and like we haven't lost complete confidence on all ends of the court, our defense has been pretty darn good. I think Mitch has been a force of nature, generally affecting shots and altering shots, and has gotten much smarter about not to foul. I think not Randall, but Quickly is a very smart defender that somehow just like pokes it away occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Rivers, that was more in the winning games as opposed to the losing streak.
No, but I still think he's playing good D.
Yeah, we've been like compared to last year, we've been around shot takers, and we've also like put the ball in the air, like forcing turnovers. I don't know if it's translated all the way to turnovers, but we've done a decent job at that as well. As long as we're not getting blown out, which I saw some really bad defense today versus the Nets, like on this.
I mean, yeah, and the last game and the last game before that, they were both blowouts where we allowed over 110 points. So
yeah,
our defense has been looking well, like last year.
But it comes from our offense. Like the most glaring thing is we can't shoot the ball, and that
we can't.
I think that affects our defense.
We can't score points. We can't score points,
and that affects our defense. I think that's affecting
and
more
and
than
you
our
see
defense.
And you see it along when it's a rhythm thing. When you're hitting your shots, you're in the rhythm of the game. It's a flow. It's easy to defend. I mean, during that winning streak that we had, it was MSG threw up the stats of the Knicks, and it was like they were second or third in opponent's 3-point percentage. And the first thing I said was that stat is so blinding.
Blinding.
It's blinding.
It was glaring. We said that too.
Because
it was so obvious that like teams were going to start hitting.
They were missing open shots. We were giving them open 3-point shots that they were missing. And the Nets took advantage of that tonight. And you saw Landry Shamet hitting 4 threes against us.
Joe Harris had an open look, missed it, comes back again after a turnover. How do you lose Joe Harris at the 3? You can't lose.
That's the one person you should not be losing at
and
the Brooklyn Nets.
They gave him on 2 back-to-back possessions. They gave him open 3s. Of course, he's going to hit the second one. You're not going to let him.
Well, if it was the Knicks, and that's the problem is we don't have any of those players. Like if you lose RJ Barrett or if you lose Alfred Payton at the 3, your team's not going to suffer much. because they're going to miss it.
Right.
They could be
No, I mean,
they miss wide open threes.
we're shooting as a team 35% from three.
Again, that's we had the first 4 games. I think an interesting thing to look at for 3 points. Just curious. I haven't actually seen it around. Is like variance. What's your variation from game to game as well?
You know what's really interesting about this game? When you look at the stat sheet, you see that we shot almost comparably to them. We shot 47.8%. They shot 48.4%. We both scored 44 field goals. We shot pretty comparable ball, it seems like. We had 10 free throws. We only missed 2. We had the same percentage from the 3-point line. So how are we down by 20 in the fourth quarter?
Well, because we made a mini run at the end when they put in their bench guys.
We made the mini run. So when they put in their bench guys, it was the classic Nick loss where it's almost like watching a bad TV show and there's like a cliffhanger at the end that sort of like pushes the dopamine button, and you're like, "Ooh, I gotta watch the next game." Maybe
right.
That glimmer of hope was there.
Maybe that was
maybe there's some. Maybe the next episode will be better. But this is now the 4th game where we lost by really essentially 30. Yeah, we lost by 6 or 7, but we both watched the game. We watched the last few games. We weren't in this game. There was not a moment where we were in this game. They put Durant on the bench in the 4th quarter with 11 minutes left because they were like, "We're good. You qualified for your ESPN contract. You're not going to get fined. You played your proper ball. We don't need you anymore." And it turns out they didn't.
The shocking stat to me from tonight's game is the Nets averaged 16 turnovers a game. They had 6.
We have not been turning the ball over much. That's bad.
Our issue was our inability to score until the 4th quarter.
But we shot similar percent. Yeah, I think what happened, we were able to turn it on a little too late.
I think we got to look at the 1st through 3rd quarter.
Right. There's a thing called garbage time minutes. There's like a stat.
Exactly. It was the Matt Stafford game. We became as a team Matt Stafford.
I would say
with 4 minutes left, or 3 minutes left, really.
I've noticed that
our stats. They almost like proved the point in this specific game in the beginning of the year, which is everyone says, basketball's boring, the 4th quarter is all that matters. It's not true. We outscored them 33-24 in the 4th quarter, and we lost by 7.
Well, I think the really sad thing that's been happening, just bringing it back to around the league as a big basketball fan over the last few years, every freaking game is a blowout that I turn on. I'm like, oh, the Knicks are losing. Let me turn on a game and it will be good. And the Lakers are up by 30 against the Rockets, or the Pacers are down 20 against Sacramento. That didn't happen. But there's so many blowouts that I turn on the TV.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
And I think that's the major downside of the player empowerment era, because the league is not well-rounded. It's not a balanced league. So you're going to have those games where
that happened in the
Lakers
too,
play,
and in the finals.
This has happened
a
lot lately.
Blowouts.
I think
there's
it's
almost
a 3-point
no good
shot.
Game. It's a 3-point shot that pulls you away, but it's also players just giving up when they're down by like 15 points because they're like, we're playing again tomorrow.
So stats per NBA.com in the 7
and also
Knicks
it's about
losses.
stats. It's about stats because and Clyde got really mad at. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but Clyde got really mad at Kevin Knox in the last game because it was right before the halftime.
And Breen.
And Breen, and he wouldn't shoot the 3-pointer because he didn't want to fuck up his percentage because it was a little bit of a far 3. It would have been almost a half-court shot, So he didn't want to shoot it because he didn't want to affect his percentage. But your team's down by 13. If you hit that, but miraculously fine, even if it's a low percentage, your team's down by 10. You put your team back in it. And I think that's a large reason why when teams are down by 15, either star players don't want to play, or they're like, you know what? I'm not going to shoot a bunch of threes to catch up because I'm going to end up with a shitty percentage at the end of the game.
I want to say 2 things on that. One, I mean, it's ridiculous. They also had 2.3 seconds on that play when Knox took that. That's so much time. That's an eternity in NBA to get off a shot. I mean, if this is a superstar trying to win, LeBron's heaving it down half court or something to AD, who's going to get a mid-range jumper. Like, you can get a good shot off of 2.3 seconds from inbounding it there. So I agree.
I've seen crazier things than David Lee tapping at point 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, shoot your shot, Kevin
Yeah,
Knox. Like, you
but
want
I-
minutes? Like, prove to
And
your
if-
coach that you want to win, not that you're looking to pad your stats.
And if I were the coach, I would be livid. I don't understand how that doesn't get across. But one more thing of that,
I'm
that's
sure it
such
did.
yeah, right. It's such an interesting thing though that you're saying of like, yeah, of people giving up, because there's another funny thing that I've noticed is people also can come back from a lot of these big leads because they can shoot the three as well. And so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure why these leads are happening more. I also want to attribute, like you said, it happened in the playoffs, so it's not only COVID, but I feel like COVID is exacerbating a bit. But it has been for a few years, like that we saw in the playoffs, where blowouts were happening a lot more often.
I
than
think
we
you're
expected.
yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot of weird things for the. I mean, obviously in the bubble, but even I think the bubble basketball was the most competitive basketball we've seen in years.
It was fun.
I mean, I agree.
But
It was the best basketball I've
see-
ever watched in at least 5 years. But could you quickly address what the changes are? Because we were meaning to like sort of segment into that, and I actually don't know.
Before I read the new guidelines, I just wanted to come back to that 3-point percentage.
Yes.
So in our 7 losses, we're attempting 29 threes a game, shooting at 28%.
Yikes.
In wins, we're shooting 24 threes and shooting 47%.
So less threes, 5 less threes.
5 less threes in wins.
Right. But our percentage
Which is not that big
But
of a
exponentially
drop.
better percent.
Yeah.
No, but
double the percent.
Well,
20%.
I would still say the better players are shooting it, and Brooks was playing when we were winning. So
Even
he was shooting
Frank.
some of those threes. Frank was
hit
hitting.
some
He was like
threes.
2 for 3 a couple games, and now RJ
now-
shooting them. Alfred Payton shooting them.
Right.
I can't with
It
Alfred
seems
Payton
like the
shooting threes.
wrong. Like we should not. Like that should be. They should make a rule. Like if Alfred Payton shoots a 3, if RJ
have to
shoots a
run
3
laps.
and misses twice in a row, like you're gonna get benched if
school.
you shoot another one.
High
It's
school
like high
basketball
school.
style. You
Yep.
shoot a 3, you got to
I
run
mean,
laps.
The NBA is not the place to learn how to shoot, folks. You got to learn how to shoot if you want to fucking play this game.
It's tough.
I think RJ has the potential to be a good 3-point shooter. I just think he needs to focus on his mid-range shot right now,
I think
especially
that's
in a cold streak.
Yeah. I think there's a difference between seeing someone who can, it seems like he knows how to shoot the ball well, like him, like he's got a decent stroke, versus Dennis Smith Jr., or Lonzo Ball. Even Lonzo has fixed it, quote unquote, they say, but he's not shooting that well. He's not.
No.
And like you could see some of these guys just have bad form a bit. That's not
Is
consistent.
LaMelo Ball the best ball?
We shall see. It seems like he's got the most potential, I think.
So I'm going to read each new part. I have the full-on memo here.
Give us the TLDR or give us quick.
Yeah, give us the TLDR.
So basically, for the next 2 weeks, players and staff cannot host any outside. They have to remain at their residence. So they can't leave their houses if they're at home. They can't leave their hotels if they're on the road. They're only allowed to attend team activities or at the team facility or in the arena, or they can exercise outside. So if they want to go for a run, they can do that. They're only allowed to be with household members or very close friends, so like personal staff, trainers, etc. And on the road, they're prohibited from leaving hotel unless they need to go to a hospital.
That seems to be something. I mean, if I was getting paid, $2 to $5 million plus, right, all the way up to 40, that seems acceptable as like a prerequisite to like
if
keep
it's
the
only
league
2
going.
weeks. Yeah. If it's 2 weeks and then
Right
they
now,
leave
it's for the
this,
next 2 weeks is how they started that.
then it's a little more palatable. But it's pretty strict. I
It's
would
strict,
say.
but like we are in the
Yeah.
heart of the pandemic. I mean, this
Yeah.
is exactly what they warned us
And-
about. This is phase 2 or whatever the second wave.
This gets worse, by the way. They're only for any pregame meeting, it has to be no more than 10 minutes, and all attendees have to wear a face mask.
And then there's a funny part with after and before the game, they're not supposed to like shake hands with the other players.
Yeah,
Things
game
like
day.
that.
Players are prohibited from arriving at the arena more than 3 hours before tip-off. During the pre- and post-game periods, players must limit interaction to elbow or fist bumps
Yeah,
and avoid extended socializing.
those are the
Wait,
parts
wait, so
that's
it's-
weird to me because Come on, they're playing basketball against each other. The exposure has been there for 48 minutes right there.
So Zach Lowe had a doctor on his podcast in the Boston area who's been dealing with heavy COVID patients, talking about the new protocols. And he's like, yeah, the pregame things don't make sense because the thing about this virus is it's in the air. So you have 10 guys on a court indoors huffing and puffing, and you're having these particles stay in the air. So what does fist bumping do, or what does elbow like? It's the little things. It's like this is the game that we're playing, and we need to understand that there's going to be some sort of breakout or some sort of attack within the NBA. So I think the in-game the in-game stuff is a little like dumb.
I mean, they had to address what just happened last week. They had to.
Right. That's the thing. It's a reaction, and it's also 2 weeks, and they'll see. But for all year, I think that's not fair to these players, even as millionaires. Like, not,
it's not fair for Kyrie.
To give sympathy. Poor Kyrie. Seriously, the guy just wants to show his brother some love.
He just wants to play basketball.
So those rules. I mean,
that's more of the gist of the rules. The big thing is on the road. It's tough for
players on the road. I think that's the tough part because you go to a new city. You want to check out the strip club. Like, the question is, can hotels also be a strip club? I don't actually know that. We should look at
that's the main point.
Yeah, we should look at the stats for that.
That's the real question.
Because we know Lou Williams went to the strip club. We know Harden went to the strip club.
I mean, players go. That's what it is. It's what they do. Why not? I want to still hold you guys. Thibodeau and his minute decisions. Go for it.
Yes.
Each one get a minute. Take a minute or so.
So I think we were talking about the inactive players.
Yes.
Right now that rotation is around 8 players. When Burks comes back, when Reggie Bullock comes back, is that going to expand to 10? Then you have Obi Toppin. Is that 11 now? We know Taj Gibson is going to get minutes. He's a Thibs guy. He will get some minutes. Now, how many per game? Maybe depending on foul trouble. But is the injury conversation the reason why these players are playing these minutes? I don't know. And what frustrated me today was I didn't expect Obi to play a lot, but get Taj Gibson in. There's no reason to have Julius Randle playing 40 minutes down 15. There's
Noel,
brother Dan, your point has been made. I like it.
Yeah, I mean,
Isaac,
just real quick, Noel played and he didn't really affect the game much, and that's part of his problem. I mean, M-Rob is the only player who's huffing and stuffing. But besides that, I mean, I kind of think that, like, I guess we need to play Randall 40 minutes a game because otherwise we probably will have, like, 40 points. But I was surprised to see Obi Toppin play 56 seconds. I got excited when I heard he was probable tonight. Did he re-injure him? Or no, it wasn't his hip. It was his calf. Did he re-injure that? Like, why wasn't he able to play more than 50 seconds?
And they said he was good. They were going to ease him into it. But ease him in doesn't mean 56 seconds. Right.
56 seconds is like either a troll job or it's he re-aggravated his injury. But yeah, I think, like, RJ, I want to see more minutes on him, or I like that he's getting the amount of minutes that he is getting. I think that's the minutes that he deserves. I think even last year he was high usage. I think, like, he's the kind of guy who needs that exposure. I personally think that he needs to spend just as much time as he's on the court watching tape. There was a few shots last game with Devin Graham, who's, I think, an amazing player. Devontae Graham really grew to be a great player.
Fun player to watch.
RJ needs to watch how that guy gets into the lane. He has this, like, perfect bank shot that RJ could really kind of use in his layup because he goes in and he just puts the ball so perfectly on the glass at such a specific quadrant on the glass that, RJ needs to just learn how to do that. So get your minutes, folks. Find that touch, because right now the reality is the minute usage that we have, yes, we're missing a lot of guys, is pointing to our offense being potentially the worst in the league. I think personally Peyton struggles and his minute usage. Yeah, I mean his struggles and his minute usage directly affect the team's success. And because they're playing so many minutes, I think defensively it looks like they lost a step. They were playing much better, more cohesive at the start. And if they're losing a step on defense, that could mean fatigue. That points to fatigue.
I agree.
And same goes for Rivers. It's
obvious watching them sometimes.
They look tired.
Yeah.
They are tired.
Same goes for Rivers.
I think his hot streak started from a point of like feeling it, being implemented, being excited, but like he can't be the focal point of the offense. He shouldn't be getting 30 minutes a game. Let him come
Who
in.
else do you give it to?
Shoot it. I mean,
Or
quickly
is
got
it a
less
problem
minutes,
of
right?
injury? Right.
Well, I mean, to some degree, yeah, because I think Burks takes a lot of his minutes, or should take a lot of his minutes, and quickly should be getting the minutes that he's getting. Quickly should be getting 30 minutes a game.
But it's
So-
2 of 3 guard. It's quickly Peyton and Rivers seem to be the 3 guards he's willing to play. I just want to make my points here in all this is that
go.
I pretty much agree with both of you guys. I think specifically I want more minutes for Knox. I want more minutes for Quickly. Knox over Bullock. I think Bullock gets way too many minutes, mainly because he just hasn't been as good this year. I mean, it's like he's a good player, but he just hasn't been. And it's also just more minutes for Quickly and just being a bit pedantic, but like as you're saying, Peyton's minutes correlate with like impacting the team's success. I want to make the statement that I don't think our team is that successful anyway. If we have Randall on the floor for 40 minutes and we're still not putting up 100 points a game 5 out of the 10 times, and we're going to score 40, I don't think it matters at this point. Like we said going into the year, the goal was to see these young guys play. If we're scoring 60 versus 80, they're both unwatchable. We're watching anyway. Like I'd rather see the young guy. I'd rather see Knox look like he could hit a 3 than Randall, unfortunately, in his 42nd minute, decide, oh shit, I forgot how to pass because I'm too tired to think about passing.
He's not playing defense with his feet.
Also, he doesn't play defense.
I think one of the
with his
problems
feet.
with Randall.
That happened a lot because he's so tired.
Yeah.
So I want to read off the minutes per game to you right now. R.J. Barrett 37.9, Julius Randle 37.4, Mitchell Robinson 30.
That's a big drop off, I think, also. But Peyton, who's next?
Big drop off, especially for the
Peyton
center.
at 29.9.
Right.
So Peyton at 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Then you have Austin Rivers at 28.8.
Yeah.
Then your next guy is Reggie Bullock at 28.7. Then Alex Burks at 27.6.
Go ahead. Continue.
Kevin Knox at 22.
Way too low.
Emmanuel Quickly at 16.7.
Right.
I mean, it's very low.
And then
But
we
I
can
don't
go
think
into
you should
Noel
really go by
Toppin or
the
whatever,
season.
Right.
I think it's difficult to go by the
injuries.
season because of injuries. Thibs was trying to work on something at the beginning, and then he switched it up.
Yeah.
But like, even if you go by tonight's game, I mean, like clearly Peyton had too many minutes.
Clearly
Rivers was on the court too much. Yeah, but go on.
Just one last part to put it out since we didn't even mention him. Just throw out DSJ. Go for it. Why not? Maybe he's not broken. Maybe he is broken. Like
he's broken. I know he's broken.
Markelle Fultz was broken, and he got fixed.
That's true.
I don't think he fits what Thibs is trying to do.
Yeah.
And Dennis Smith Jr. gets to the basket so good. He's one of the best to get to the basket.
Well, not one of the best.
The life of him.
Okay, fair. He
cannot finish. He gets to the hoop. He cannot finish. He cannot shoot. He cannot defend.
DSJ.
Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah.
No, but the reason why I wanted to read off
this game,
the reason why I wanted to read off the minutes is because you have, like we said, we had Reggie Bullock is hurt right now. We have Alec Burks hurt. You have Obi Toppin. Where are those guys fitting in? Now it looks like Reggie Bullock and Burks maybe are at the 28 mark based on previous. We didn't really see Obi Toppin because he got hurt. But where does Obi Toppin's minutes come from? What minutes are you taking from? Who are you taking from to get Obi?
Got to be Randall.
That he needs to do. Is it Randall? Is it Mitch?
Noel? Maybe play some small ball with. They played some games when Noel was hurt without Mitch, and I don't even know who was playing the other, like the 5 and the 4. It was Randall and like someone else.
It was Randall.
Yeah,
RJ was getting a lot of boards.
Yeah, and so Toppin
RJ got more
Randall,
aggressive.
Might as well give it a shot. I think it's worth it. Noel, I don't really love Noel's play, honestly. He has some sparks, but like he's not
on defense. He's been
offs on defense.
Awful.
Defensively, as a rim protector, he's there. But other than that, he might as well not be there.
Yeah, he's not handling like the roles. Also, like people are dropping in the ball. He's not ready sometimes. Mitch also has not been ready. But
real quick, Alfred Payton was team worst -13 tonight. I've been glaring at that stat every game that he plays.
Right.
And he's usually the weakest link consistently. I don't understand why he's getting minutes still. I actually really think it's a problem. I don't know why Thibs has any desire to play a player like that who's shooting like 14 shots a game and only hitting like 2 of them. It's unimaginable. He shot 3 for 11 last night. 2 nights before he was 4 for 10. Before that he was 4 for 16. This is your point guard shooting 16 shots and missing 12 of them. Unacceptable. He's averaging 4 or 5 assists a game at most. That's not a way to win. So you're asking why we're losing these games where if we're shooting consistently with our opponents, our 3-point percentage isn't that off base. We're hitting our free throws. We're not getting out rebounded. We have no point guard play. That's why the other guys are not scoring.
So what's the question? What's your question?
No. My hot take is, are the Knicks back?
At the beginning, we made our win-loss projections. I think I had them at 25, maybe 20. When we had some wins and we ran it back with our predictions, and I stuck with those wins because remember when we saw the games, we thought there was a bit of variance and a bit of luck that was happening with the wide open threes that we saw from the other team, us hitting our threes, being the best team in threes through, I think, 3 games. And it's like, we knew it wasn't sustainable. But again, I still have hope with this team. I think the injuries are holding us back. I'm still going to pull out a chance for being under 500, 8th seed. But my prediction is still going to be that we're at the bottom of the barrel. I'm just hoping we get to see some flashes of potential, maybe even at the end of the year, or like the minutes will be changed and we may get flashes of potential to get us to 30 wins. I think I've been pretty glad with our defense. I'm hoping that could be sustainable as long as we shoot. I know we haven't actually played well defense, but I think if we shoot well, it seems like the system is actually pretty good. So we're back. We are back.
But even with that said, because like with what you're saying is like, the system works. So if we're shooting well, we're still going to lose that many games and still be the 8th seed. No, how does that make sense?
Well, I don't actually. I'm not.
That seems contradictory.
Yeah, I'm not predicting 8th seed. That's still my hope. I'm not willing to throw in the towel for the season. But as I said in the beginning, my prediction has been firm that we never left. We've always been back, even at 5-4, or even when we were 5-3, 2 games above 500. I never thought we would left.
So I agree. I think reality has set into what this team is right now. And yeah, we saw, and exactly what you said is we saw those flashes, and that's what we really want to see this year. I mean, if you told me that we would have flashes of Emmanuel Quickley bursting out, hopefully Obi Toppin shows what he can do down the stretch late in games. What I loved what Thibs did today is they were down 15 and he was drawing it up like it was a 3-point game with 2 minutes left.
Loved it.
Getting these young guys into a mode of grinding out these tough wins, and look, it worked. Yes, they were playing against literal backups, but we go back and forth with Tibbs is he going to run players to the ground? Is he the best for player development? He's great for heart, and you see it with Knox. You see it with Mitch Robb, where these guys are taking steps. Hopefully you see it with Quickley. Hopefully you see it with Obi once he comes back and healthy. Hopefully we'll see RJ come into fruition and start hitting his shots. Like I think it's key for him to continue with the mid-range versus the 3-point shots. But reality sunk in. Guys, we can't shoot.
That was our statement. Consensus prediction before the season started. If you listen to our preseason pod, my biggest concern was I don't see how this team breaks 100 night after night. And we saw that tonight. I think we
didn't have a chance.
We saw
to win.
The last 4 games.
They didn't have a chance to win if they didn't hit 90. And this is the first game that they hit 90 and lost. But I want to pick out, and I have this stat from NBA.com that breaks down wins and losses. And it's apparent is when we're hitting our shots, we're shooting 50% for 5-0. In our wins, we're shooting 50%. We're scoring 102 points a game. Our free throw percentage is at 75%. We're averaging 25 assists a game, 49 rebounds. We're shooting 47% from 3. And in losses, we're 7 losses. We're averaging 93 points a game. We are attempting our field goal percentage is 40%. We're shooting 28% from three. We're averaging 44 rebounds. Like, we're shooting 72% from the line.
Let me just say, you're killing with the global stats. You've come fresh with like a lot of these.
Yeah,
like,
we really appreciate it, Brother Dan. And I want to just bring up my favorite thing that obviously this harkens back. We've mentioned it here before, but just to give us a quote, now you look at the stat sheet after a game, and the first thing you look at is the threes. If you made threes and the other team didn't, you win. You don't even look at the rebounds or the turnovers or how much transition D was involved. You don't even care. Greg Popovich, everyone's finest. San Antonio Spurs finest.
But tonight that wasn't really.
But I mean, as Brother Dan just showed,
yeah.
When we win, we're shooting 47% from three. When we lose, we're shooting under 30% from three.
But then it goes back to who's on the court and who's shooting those threes, right? Because
of course,
that's the thing. If we have Alec Burks, if we have Quickly,
our sharpshooter,
and not Peyton, because at the end of the day, Peyton's going to be shooting those shots,
right?
Because he's the point guard and he's getting those open looks.
Well,
if that's Quickly getting those opportunities, we score more points.
I think
we're putting more points on the board against these. He needs to be a starter. He needs to be a starter. That's what I think. He needs to be the starter.
I want to say, though, that's like you have way more confidence in Quickly at this moment than I do. Like, it's been like, yes, he plays well and he can score, but he's got a lot to learn as well.
It's more about his competition. It's about his competition.
Right. I mean, I agree because this is a loss.
If it's him or Peyton, no, even if it's like not a loss here.
You think he's better than
just like saying
right now at facilitating the offense?
Yes,
that's our question.
No.
I disagree with that.
Oh, I
don't think
from
so.
watching the games,
so.
I don't think so.
You think Peyton's facilitating the offense? Whenever Peyton's in, we're down by like 15. Peyton's the one who's actually back to that point. When Peyton's
we're talking about Quickly playing versus backups.
Gets lowered.
We're talking about Quickly play. Well, and that's when I didn't.
Well, not really, because Quickly comes back in the fourth quarter.
I didn't have a chance to bring up though that wins above like the idea of Peyton is pretty shitty, but that has also in the beginning of the year. Everyone has spoken about it. We have a guard issue the whole time. And so, yes, Quickly has given us glimmers of hope to the point where we want to throw all our stock in. But I'm just saying we've had a guard issue and we still have a guard issue.
Right. We didn't address it in the offseason.
Yeah, and we need maybe Quickly you might as well throw him out there because, again, it's pretty obvious. Well, it's still early in the year and we still are here, baby. We're still grinding through, giving you this content.
Frank.
Yes, exactly. We're still pulling out for Frank in all honesty. But we're going to be here with you guys through the year. And hopefully we will get to see this Quickly guy prove us all right. Prove you.
I guess.
I'm just saying that he has to that he's clear that he's right now. Peyton.
I don't think
if this is the NBA playoffs, I'm putting in Peyton over Quickly at this
so
point.
I disagree with that. So and it's funny because you made the point that like you want to see the young players and that's why Quickly should play.
Yes.
But you actually still think that Peyton is better at orchestrating the offense, and I think that's not true. Okay. I think I agree that there's so much that Quickly needs to improve on his game. I think he's clearly like forcing it sometimes. He's not on the same page with his players too often. He's at the gym right now. We're talking here. He's at the gym. Where's the other players surrounding him? They need to be there and support with him. He's their point guard. Play with your point guard. Let him be the one who facilitates this offense. I think he's a special player.
Calling them every morning, being like, yo, you brush your teeth 3 times, swirl, then to the right, then counterclockwise 4 times, spit out.
Dude, this is the New York Knicks, man. Like
we need to be on it.
We expect like good basketball, and when we don't see it, we're gonna criticize it. So if you're gonna continue to play Peyton,
we have every right to criticize, but we and to home back on your question is, are we back? Is what is our expectations for this team? And my expectation is, I want to see the growth. I want to see the glimmers of hope for the future. I know we're not going to be a team that, if we somehow sneak into the playoffs, great. But we're not a team that's going for a championship. We're not. We're building a team for the future. And
our ceiling is a first-round sweep, I feel like. Just to wrap this up, let's give the fans some hope. Give us one thing to be looking forward to over the next few games. And just to bring up our schedule for a hot second, we're getting Toppin back. Hopefully we'll get more Burks back. The Ntilikina, we haven't spoke about it, but his injury has been pretty mysterious. But over the next few games, on Friday, we got against Cleveland. Then we played Boston, Orlando, and then we go on a whole road trip for a while. We'll probably pick up the pod right before the road trip. But give me something you guys are looking forward to.
The emergence of the young talent. I think having Quickly continue to get those minutes, Knox to continue hitting his shots, RJ Barrett to continue and find his rhythm within the game, and hopefully to see Obi Toppin really find his stride and come back healthy. I think he's a major part in what we're doing. I think he's key. Whether it was a mistake to pick him, now that we see the resurgence of Julius Randle and we see Halliburton really killing it in Sacramento. So was that a mistake? I hope he proves us wrong. But I just opened up a new can of worms and Shabby wants to go eat.
Wait, there's a guy that's playing better than a guy that we drafted?
Exactly. I can't believe that. I can't believe that.
I mean,
it's our expert draft pickers.
Yeah.
You know what?
Whenever the Knicks are in the draft.
For next pod, you have me on. We'll have Obi Toppin, Julius Randle, Tyrese Halliburton conversation.
Yes, I like that. We should do draft pick. Where are they now? Moment as well with that.
Yeah. It's always the most depressing conversations, right? Who did we pass on?
Right. That's every Knicks nightmare. So our fantasies is what free agents will sign. Our nightmares is who did we miss out on in the draft last year?
Exactly. Knick fan life.
Yeah.
No, but really I want to see how the team continues to develop under Coach Thibodeau. The defense is strong. Obviously, there are gaps in the offense, which is the biggest hole right now. But hopefully, we get healthy. We have those shooters. I mean, Toppin can shoot. Burps can shoot. So once we get these players back, maybe we get some shots in, get in a groove, and it's gonna going to the West Coast is gonna be tough.
Yeah, that will be tough. So we need some W's over here for the next 3 games.
I mean, I was going to say, yes, Brother Daniel. Excited to see what Thibs does, and I'm continuing to look forward to his development and the progress of the team. But, we did start 2021 with 3 victories, and then we lost 4 in a row. 3 out of the 4 games, we didn't scrape 90. Today, arguably, we didn't. It took the fourth quarter Matthew Stafford padding stats to get to 109. I want to see some points on the board. It's hard to be excited about anything right now. I think we lost 4 in a row. Let's be real with that.
We're humans.
This has not been exciting. This has not been acceptable for New York basketball.
Agreed.
But the Nets getting Harden only ups the ante. We need to show something. RJ Barrett really needs to take control of this team.
For me, 2 succinct things is Quickly shooting way more threes, figuring out a way to get him open and actually firing away, whether that's on the guard or off ball. And something we may not see this next 3 games, but you never know. I'm still holding out. And I think that could help change the offense is Mitch, maybe catching the ball from the post for once in his life, or taking 2 dribbles and making a real pass besides a dribble handoff.
Does Knox know how to dribble?
Oh, that was the last one. Is can Knox pick up his 3? Knox can dribble. He can't jam. Have you seen how many missed dunks he's made?
Have we sure seen Knox dribble? Can we confirm that he actually has the ability to do it?
Knox can go to the hole.
Today he went to the hole.
What he does at the hole is a whole nother question.
I just want to make sure it's in his repertoire that he knows how to literally dribble a basketball, because I haven't seen it. I've seen him catch the ball and shoot it. But it's oh, wait, could he dribble? I wonder.
This is our new conspiracy, everybody. Can Kevin Knox actually dribble a ball? Have you actually seen a video of it?
Have you seen it? I don't know if I've seen it.
I don't know. Well, folks, this has been fun. Thank you for listening to Coast Podcast. We had a special guest, Brother Dan, here. Please listen, give us any comments, feedback, and thank you very much for listening.